dress up like a dude. No makeup and fingernails and jewelry, black shoes, black socks, black pants, black shirt, black coat, and a beanie. A red flag up under the beanie. And just put my work in. Boom, 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 boom. I even give you a choice sometime. You want to get shot with 357 or you want me to shoot you with this 45? I'm with you to let you know who I am, and I wish you would.
Compton in the 90s was a bloodbath between the Bloods and the Crips, and Sylvia Nunn was right in the middle of it.
To have, people fear you can, be very empowering.
They called her Rambo, not for fun, but because when the Crips shot her brother, she responded with fury, leaving dead Crips in her wake.
Get used to pulling a trigger on somebody. It's not hard to pick up a gun and just shoot, It's not hard after a while.
The day the Crips made a fatal mistake, they didn't just shoot a Piru. They shot Marcus China Dog Nunn, a founding father of the Looters Park Piru and Sylvia's big brother. They didn't kill him, but they may as well have. Because the person they woke up wasn't just a grieving sister. It was a trained boxer, a crack-fueled sharpshooter, and a teenage girl with nothing to lose.
The last thing you'd want, is to be afraid of women.
Sylvia didn't wait for orders. She gave them. She didn't retaliate quietly. She went on a rampage. She hit enemy territory like a one-woman task force. Kicking in doors, firing from rooftops, no masks, no mercy. Sylvia Rambo Nunn turned the streets of Compton into her own battleground.
That's what's putting in work mean, to take life in your own hands. Handle your business. And don't get caught slipping. But the main thing is going to kill.
And it all started with that one shot, that one mistake. So now the question is, what really happened that day? And how did a teenage girl become the face of Piru vengeance? Let's talk about it. Sylvia Nunn was born with clenched fists and a fire that didn't ask for permission. Her story doesn't start in a crack house or on a corner. It starts in a house with 2 parents, steady income, and annual brand new cars in the driveway.
My mother and father worked hard to make sure that we had everything. We were a high-class, upper black family. I had a new car every year.
But don't get it twisted. That house sat on the east side of Compton, where the lawns were cut but the air smelled like tension, where the laughter of childhood was always one wrong step away from sirens.
We coming. On the real, you better keep y'all kids in the house, homie, because it's going town, homie.
Yeah, that's going through the walls.
That's real.
I don't go out at night. The boogeyman is out at night. You tell the kids that fairy tale, but it's really true.
Sylvia's father, Willie Nunn, was a presence, a professional boxer, a disciplined marksman, a protector who taught his children how to fight before they learned how to ride bikes. Sylvia and her brother Marcus, better known on the streets as China Dog, were forged under his fists, raised with gloves and grit. He taught her to hold her own, not just in the ring, but in the world.
My dad told me, I'm gonna teach you everything that a woman needs to know. You ain't gonna need a man but for one thing. When I get finished with you, you're gonna be able to change your own flats, steal your own car, shoot your own gun, and fight your own fight.
His motto was, don't just hit back, hit first, and mean it. By the early 70s, that world was splitting at the seams. Compton was no longer just a city. It was a map of territories and grudges, where red and blue weren't colors. They were lifestyles. The Looters Park hustlers were evolving into something bigger, more organized, more ruthless.
This is the grounds of the devil. You have bombs, you have smokers, you might have razors in the sandbox, you might have crack pipes in the sandbox. If you dig deep, you might find a gun here or there. This park is a headstone to me.
Marcus, Sylvia's brother, was one of those making it happen. He was a founding member and certified shot caller.
My brother's a big deal. He's the dog. He's the bow wow wow, yippee-yo, yippee-yay. He the dog. They don't the dog.
And Sylvia didn't just admire him. She studied him. She absorbed the code of the street like secondhand smoke. When Willie got locked up in '73, the house lost its shield. What was left was a blueprint for chaos. Sylvia's mom did what she could, but Compton wasn't interested in grace or mercy. It was interested in survival. And for a girl like Sylvia, no dolls, no frilly dresses, no soft landings, survival looked a lot like vengeance. When her brother was shot, at 16, Sylvia didn't just join the Looters Park Pirus. She embodied them.
It's such an anomaly. People, want to hold this place for how women, should act.
Sylvia was a soldier, a trigger-happy, steel-eyed banger with something to prove, not just to the world, but to herself. The culture she dove into wasn't built for women. Piru sets, especially Looters Park, were old school, testosterone-filled, respect-earned through pain kind of places. Women weren't shot callers. They weren't hitters. They weren't even supposed to be seen during war talks. But Sylvia flipped the script. She wasn't asking for a seat, she was taking it. The boys in the crew didn't know what to make of her.
She was the youngest girl that really hung out at the park. Being 9 to 10 years old, she had a pistol always packed on her.
One day, they asked her to help rob a gas station. They thought it'd be a joke, a test, a one-time gig. They hyped her up, carried her on their shoulders like she was a toy mascot with a pistol. But when the moment came, Sylvia didn't blink.
We walked over there, and they carried me on their shoulders. And then when they get up there, they walk up, she's in a booth. And they like, we finna rob this. You better not push no buttons. And then they took like the handle of their gun, bust the window out enough, and put me through it.
She climbed through broken glass, stared down the cashier with a barrel aimed straight, and handled her business with cold precision. She wasn't scared. She wasn't playing. She was getting hers. After the job, when the boys tried to brush her off with loose change and a joke about buying a popsicle, she put the fear of God in them.
Mom was like, that y'all gonna give me some money too. And they was like, damn, this a crazy little girl. We'll buy you a popsicle, some candy. I say, no, the you want, you gonna give me some money. And they gave me some change. They gave me a whole bunch of change.
She wasn't here for favors. She wasn't some little sister tagging along. She was putting in work. And in gang life, that meant something. You rob, you fight, you shoot, you kill, you earn your name.
I would dress up like a dude. No makeup and fingernails and jewelry. Black shoes, black socks, black pants, black shirt, black coat, and a beanie. A red flag up under the beanie. And just put my work in. Boom, 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 boom.
And she earned the name Rambo, not because it sounded cool, because it fit. She was always ready for war. Dressed like a dude, no makeup, no frills, just fury wrapped in skin and a thirst for retribution. And in a world where women were either accessories or liabilities, she flipped the dynamic. Sylvia didn't need to be protected. She was the danger. And it was all because the night her brother was shot, something snapped in her. That night, the air was thick and still. The kind of stillness that always means something's about to break. And it did. When gunfire shattered the quiet and Marcus, better known on the streets as China Dog, dropped. It wasn't supposed to go down like that. Not on that block. Not in front of that house. But the Crips had been circling. Tensions between sets were boiling over. This wasn't some random drive-by. This was a message. And unfortunately for everyone involved, they sent it to the wrong mailbox. They came through fast. Blue rags, tinted windows, steel in their hands, vengeance in their eyes. No warning, just bullets. Marcus had only just stepped outside the Nunn household, and the Nunn house was already a known Piru hub.
We sitting in the living room, talking. We hear one shot hit the floor. We were so used to hitting the floor till it just became a routine.
You didn't have to be a genius to know China Dog might be around, but you had to be a fool to think hitting him wouldn't spark a war. The shots rang out like thunder.
I'm laying up in my bed, and I hear all these gunshots.
Sylvia was only 16, but she knew that sound. Everyone in Compton did. She hit the floor instinctively, eyes wide, heart frozen. Then the screams followed, the kind that makes your blood run cold before you even get to the window. She ran outside barefoot, reckless, tearing down the porch steps like gravity didn't exist. There he was, China Dog, her big brother, her blueprint for how to move in the streets, lying in a pool of red.
And he was just laying there bleeding. I was saying, Marcus, Marcus. And I got mad. I was hurt. I was bitter. And I was ready to shoot you. I was ready to kill you.
Blood soaked into the concrete like it had been waiting for this moment all along. People started to gather, but no one moved too close. They all knew what this meant. Sylvia dropped to her knees. She didn't cry. Her eyes scanned the street for the car, for the license plate, for faces, anything to hang this pain on. But the shooters were ghosts by then, swallowed back up by the Compton night. The tension between the Looters Park Pirus and surrounding Crip sets had turned deadly years ago, but this felt different. It was one thing to beef. It was another to try and take out a nun. Marcus survived, barely. The bullet wounds left him with scars that would never fully heal, not just on his body, but deep inside. He was shaken, quieter after that. But the loudest transformation didn't happen to Marcus. It happened to Sylvia.
You shot my nephew or my niece, I could kill your whole family.
Something in her snapped. Maybe it was the sight of her brother nearly dying. Maybe it was the disrespect. Maybe it was the years of chaos finally reaching a breaking point. But from that day forward, the Sylvia people knew was gone. Rambo had taken her place. She didn't scream. She didn't rant. She didn't go online or call friends or cry on anyone's shoulder. She went inside. She opened the drawer. She grabbed her daddy's gun.
I went home because I knew where my dad hid his guns at. Because I was planning on killing me a lot of Crips that day.
She didn't check the clip. She already knew it was full. She got dressed and looked at herself in the mirror and saw what everyone else would soon learn. She wasn't grieving, she was hunting. Sylvia didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. That night, she and other blood members slid out, quiet as smoke, ready to make their first move. She wasn't looking for street cred. She wasn't trying to prove something. She wasn't clout chasing. She was angry, focused, calculating. 16 years old with a gun in her hand and a war behind her eyes. And when she let that first shot off, when she saw the Crips she had lined in her sights drop, something changed in her for good. Sylvia once said, "If you can get over it the first time, it's nothing you can't do again."
Shooting a gun. Shooting somebody. That first time. After that, it ain't hard to do. If you can get over it the first time, it's not nothing that you can't do again.
That night, she got over it. And the streets of Compton would never be the same. She didn't cry over her brother's wounds. She avenged them, again and again. Dressed in black, with death in her pockets, and her set on her back. She wasn't just another banger. She was a problem, and the Crips had made her that way. From that day on, Sylvia didn't wait for war. She brought it.
Shooting a gun is like eating an apple to me. Then you eat the apple.
Her name went from a whisper to a warning. Parents told their kids not to talk to her. Crips started checking every car that pulled up at night. Girls didn't want to be mistaken for her. Boys didn't want to be on the wrong side of her. They say she would go on missions, come home, scrub the blood off, change clothes, and sit down for dinner like nothing happened. She'd flip back into the girl her mama raised, only now she had ghosts behind her eyes.
And back to my car, jump in and throw it in neutral, take that off. Next thing you know, I'm a girl, and I'm sexy, and I'm driving.
Bodies started turning up. Young Crip soldiers found in alleys. Bullet holes carved into living room walls. Streetlights flickered above blood-streaked sidewalks. But Sylvia wasn't sloppy. She was precise, tactical. Homes weren't hit at random. These were targeted strikes designed to send a message. You touched family, now the ground will drink for it.
The gang becomes your family. When you hurt somebody in your family, then the other person has to pay for it.
It's no coincidence they started calling her a general. Sylvia had grown up learning how to shoot by taking rabbits down with headshots, not out of sport, but survival. She carried that instinct into the streets. The daughter of a shooter, the sister of the shot, the ghost in the Crips' nightmares. And behind that ice-cold focus was cracked pain.
I wouldn't give a who I shot. When I was high on crack, it was easier for me to shoot you.
The very poison tearing through her city was also fueling her fire. It didn't just numb her pain, it obliterated it. Fear, grief, and guilt was gone. All that was left was muscle memory and the mission. The rock was her armor. It hardened her heart, dulled the edge of hesitation. It made her move faster, talk less, kill quicker. Every hit, every raid, there was a haze of smoke, sweat, and street law behind it. She said it herself. When I was high on crack, it was easier for me to shoot you and not care, and probably laugh.
When I was high on crack, it was easier for me to shoot you and don't care. And probably laugh.
Somewhere between the night raids and gun smoke, between the caskets and loyalty oaths, she learned to treat human life like currency, spend it when necessary, toss it when it got old, and when you reach that point, the line between adapting and breaking doesn't just blur, it vanishes. She didn't lose her soul in one moment. She pawned it off in pieces, one body at a time. You didn't need to see Sylvia to know she was near. Her legend traveled faster than her footsteps. Some neighborhoods went quiet when her name got mentioned. Crips started doubling their lookouts, changing routines, sleeping with their backs against walls. Because Rambo wasn't shooting to prove a point. She was erasing anyone connected to her brother's death, and anyone who stood in her path.
I was what you would call a gangster. A gangster. I acted like a boy. I sagged my pants. I wore boxers. I would do the do-rag thing. I was gangster.
And she didn't roll with a pack unless she had to. Sylvia had learned early that depending on others could get you killed. So she moved light, armed heavy, always strapped, sometimes with 2 or 3 weapons. Not because she was paranoid, but because she understood the terrain. The rules had changed. The war had started, and she was dictating its tempo. Even among the Bloods, her status shifted. She wasn't just another soldier. She wasn't even just a respected banger. Sylvia was feared. Respected followed. She made decisions that others wouldn't. She spoke when others stayed quiet. And when she acted, she never second-guessed. Some say she earned her stripes in one summer more than most men had in a lifetime. Experts in law enforcement began to see the patterns. These weren't sporadic bursts of street violence. This was organized, patterned, ruthless. One detective even compared her to a guerrilla commander, using knowledge of the city like terrain maps, identifying weak spots, exploiting the overconfidence of the enemy.
I'm like kind of a professional mourner now, you know. Death don't really bother me like that. It hurt real bad when you love somebody and they die, but I don't give a about it no more.
Sylvia didn't just make people bleed, she made them uncertain. And in the world of gangs, uncertainty is the first crack in your armor. By the early 1980s, if you were in Compton and you hadn't heard of Sylvia Rambo Nunn, you probably weren't outside enough. Where other female gang members still had to prove their worth, Rambo had flipped that equation. Male OGs fell in line. Young girls wanted to walk in her Chuck Taylors, and cops kept their hands hovering near their holsters when her name came up. There's a moment gang expert Alex Alonso once described as Rambo-like in one of her earliest run-ins with the law. A cop threatened her mother, saying they'd kill Marcus when they found him. Sylvia didn't hesitate. She threw punches like she was born to do it, like the honor code of her bloodline demanded it.
The police is telling my mother, I know you know with your son that you might as well tell us because we gonna kill him when we see him, and I took off on the police. Bam, you don't talk to my mother like that. And one of the police said, who the think you is, Rambo or somebody? And I turned around, kicked him, hitting that one. I'm just doing what my dad taught me to do.
When she turned on that officer, she wasn't a teenager rebelling. She was a soldier protecting the only kingdom that mattered, her family.
All the girls really, feel for her, but as time got older, she got more ruthless.
And in gang culture, where family and set were interchangeable, that kind of loyalty could make you a legend or a target. As Compton spiraled deeper into the crack era, with mothers turning to dealers and nurses lighting pipes on shift, the rules changed. Sylvia didn't bend when the Crips turned her house into a shooting gallery. She didn't fold when the cops came knocking with threats. And she sure as hell didn't break when her own people got strung out. But deep down, even Sylvia knew she wasn't untouchable. In one of her later interviews, she sat on the very ground that claimed so many of her people, Looters Park, and said, "If hell is anything like this, I sure don't want to go." You can feel the weariness in her voice.
I've had so many loved ones die right here in this park, take their last breath. I've had so many homeboys and homegirls lay here in this park and the ambulance pick them up. And if hell is anything like this, I sure don't want to go.
Still, in the early 90s, as gangster rap started spilling out of Watts and Compton, Sylvia Nunn's legend stood in the background, quiet but firm. There were no press runs, no mixtapes, just facts. She was the sister of Marcus China Dog Nunn, a name that resonated like a shotgun blast if you knew anything about mob Piru politics. And her affiliation was never performative. Sylvia lived the code before anyone made it rhyme. In one of her own rare interviews, Sylvia was asked if she had really pulled the trigger. "That's what they say," she answered, her tone flat, unbothered. "Bullets don't have names."
You shot someone? That's what they said. Several times that's what they said.
Were they right?
I don't know. Bullets don't have names.
But there was fatigue in her voice, not from the question, but from the life behind it. Soon after that, in April 1991, Sylvia Nunn got cornered by men in uniform. Police officers approached her with a choice masked as a warrant, jail time or full disclosure. They didn't just want a name or a face. They wanted information on the day-to-day mechanics of the Looters Park Piru, the rhythm and structure. Sylvia could either stay silent and go down, or speak and step out. She talked. Just a few months later, on July 23, 1991, the streets reminded her of the price of knowing too much. Mid-afternoon, the phone rang. Her mother's voice, shaking, grief-stricken, delivered a blow colder than handcuffs. Her oldest brother, Junior Nunn, had been walking his girlfriend home when someone came from behind and pulled the trigger. One shot to the back of the head. Just like that, he was gone. Junior had never been part of the gang.
I said, hello, and my mother said, Sylvia. And just the way she called my name, I automatically knew somebody was dead. But please don't tell me nobody killed Marcus. She said no. And I said, oh, don't tell me my daddy dead. I'm already crying. She said, no, Junior dead.
Even though Sylvia didn't lose a brother in the beginning, she lost one in the end.
He was so damn humble. If you say, Junior, here, kill that fly for me. He stuttered. You kill it. The fly got a right to live like you got a right to live.
2 years later, she disappeared from Compton's radar. But she wasn't lost. She was rebuilding. She resurfaced in 1993 in Las Vegas, Nevada, with a new name and a new beginning. By 1995, she was Sylvia Hardman, wife of John Hardman, a former sheriff from Kansas City, Missouri. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew her past. A Piru married to the law.
Opposites attract. He used to be high sheriff of Kansas City, Missouri. Been doing construction all his life.
But Sylvia wasn't running from who she was. She was turning the page. She didn't just leave gang life behind. She buried it. And in its place, she found faith, became active in the Second Missionary Baptist Church in Pahrump. She used to say, I put down Piru and picked up Jesus. And she meant it.
Put down Piru and I picked up Jesus.
On April 20th, 2010, the streets whispered her name one last time. Sylvia Hardman passed away. She was laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery in Las Vegas. But her legacy didn't end in that grave. Back in Compton, her sister Sylvia Nunn made sure of that. She founded a non-profit in her name, dedicated to community healing. It is a symbol that even in a city haunted by red and blue, there's room for redemption.
If I just can touch one, then all that stuff I done did in the past won't be in vain. And God will be in forgiving me.
Even though Sylvia eventually left the gang life, new cliques rose with women in their ranks who weren't just mascots, they were architects. But there was also blood. Too much of it, because following Sylvia's gang legacy meant living without fear, but it also meant dying without hesitation. While some say she liberated female gangsters, others say she cursed them forever.